Live there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Thursday. It should be, at least. You know how we always hear that scripture? Let us not just be hearers of the word, but be doers of the word. Well, last week when I was putting my list together for the week, I was reminded that God hears, but He doesn't just hear, God does. Oh, yes. And we are told to be what? Imitators of God. As dear children, be imitators of God. God hears and He acts. So, as good little children, what do? We hear and we act. How do we act? We act by applying what we've heard. That's how we do it. Do you see it? God hears and He does. So we hear and then we do. We do by applying. What do we apply? We apply the principles of creation day in and day out. There's something I'm supposed to tell you too, but it just mm, it just evaded my lips, but it'll come back. It will come back. So today, don't just hear, because what good is it to just hear? Hearing is only part of the picture. Hearing is the cause, but every cause has an effect, and every effect its cause. So when you see, when we hear, because we can't escape law, we act upon what we've heard. Now it depends. What did you hear? What did you hear about yourself? Well, what did you say about yourself? Then that is how you will behave. That is how you will act. Why? Because we must apply what we have heard. We can't not apply. To hear is cause, to act is effect, and they go together. They don't have a delay between the two. You have a cause, you have an effect. Boom, you're done. So we act according to who we say we are. And when we act according to who we say that we are, oh, sugar bunny. See, cute is as cute does. Listen, when we behave according to who we think we are, that's God acting. Every single lecture from Neville Goddard will tell you that same thing. We hear in our minds. Why there? Because the universe is a mental creation. That's why. So if you allow other people to whisper who they think you are to you, then you will act according to who they say you are. Remember what Peter, when God was talking to the disciples, when Jesus was talking to the disciples, what he said? Who do you say I am? Listen to it. Who do you say I am? Listen to it again. Who do you say I am? So when you say I am, what follows I am? So that is us responding to, who do you say I am? Listen to it. Who do you say I am is? Who do you say I am is? So when you say I am, what are you putting after that? That's who you're saying I am is. You are now conditioning I am. So you see, God hears, but God does not just hear. God acts. God does something. So when you say, oh, I would really love dot dot dot. God heard you. Well, how could God hear you? Who has ears? I do. You do. God is always listening, even to the things you don't say, at least not verbally, because we do speak, don't we? So God is always listening. And wherever you put your attention the most, that's what you're telling God that you want. So if you put your attention upon the complaining, so you're trying to tell me that my life is my fault? Remember, there's no fault. There's no blame. There is only the state. So if you are in a mental state of, yay, I am marvelous, if that is the mental state that you are in, well, then the way you speak to yourself and the way you behave must mirror, I am marvelous. But if you say, woe is me, that is your mental state. So if you say, woe is me, well, then you will experience the pain and suffering that goes along with woe is me. Because we only act according to the state that we are in. The state is us saying, I am dot dot dot. So be imitators of God, dear children. It says in the scripture. So to be an imitator, what does God do? God hears and then he acts. So I hear and I act as well. And the way I act is wholly dependent. Wholly, not as in, but entirely. WHOL. That whole, the entirety of something. The way I behave is wholly dependent upon the state, the mental state that I have put myself in. And how do I put myself in a mental state? By force of habit. That's how we put ourselves into a state. We do it today. We do it tomorrow. We do it the day after. 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 Until such time you don't do it anymore. You be now. You just become the thing that you've practiced so much. So that even before you act it out, you have felt it course through your body. Thereby, you must act it out. Notice that phrase I told you, force of habit. A habit, the thing you have done the same way every time, that is just on autopilot now, it forces you to act. It doesn't suggest that you act. It tells you what you're going to do, and it tells you how you're going to do it. And you will bear the repercussions if you don't. Cravings, force of habit. So today we see that God is always hearing us. So you don't have to holler when you pray. You don't have to holler when you give thanks. No, you don't. You can simply listen. You don't even have to open your mouth. You can whisper from within the fibers of your own being. Just a simple whisper. And God hears. And then God does. Because God is not a hearer only of the word. What word, you say? The words that you and I say. God hears and He does. So if God hears and He does, I should do the same, shouldn't I? Well, how else would we know how to be? At least how to be the best. So you hear, you do. What do? You act according to the state. So the very best way is to make sure that the thing you practice is bearing witness to the state you are in mentally. So if you're going to practice it, it better be a good thing that you're practicing. Only practice what you want to excel at. Practice what you want to become the best at. If that's biting your nails, shoot, you'll be the best. If that is complaining, you will be the best. If that is being thankful or grateful, well, that you will be the best at that. If you edify yourself, which means you encourage yourself, you don't insult and tear yourself down. If you edify yourself day in and day out, moment by moment, well then, you become that eagle that soars above everything. That's what you make yourself become. Because you see the good. You see the good, you see the beauty, you see the love, you see the joy, and you act according to it. Because you practiced. That's why that scripture is going to tell you, train up a child in the way it should go, and it will not depart from it. Why? Because habits are hella hard. Why? Because they force you to behave in that fashion. So that you are not just a hearer, but you're a doer of the word. That's what habits do. You are under compulsion to act, and so you must. So today, my beautiful friends, know that you're not just a hearer, you are a doer as well. You are a doer, and so you learn from the best. That would be God. When you begin to recognize that God is within you, remember Lynn. Remember Lynn. Remember, we read these lectures every night. Lynn is from the lecture. I forget which one, but Lynn is from the lecture. And when she complained, when her mother said no, and you know how all 9-year-olds get to be, they pout and they stop. But why, mommy? Her father whispered gently to her, have you forgotten God? Have you forgotten God? When you complain, you forget who God is. You forget what God is capable of. Then you complain. Because then you're saying, God can't handle it. Last time I heard, all things are possible to God. That's what I heard. But how do you know all things are possible with God? Through practice, through experience. So don't choose the thing that's, oh, that's so, you know what? I'm gonna go small. Just in case I'm disappointed. I wouldn't have lost so much. Oh, please listen to what you're saying to yourself and recognize what state you're in when you say to yourself, oh, you know what? Just as a precaution, let me just do a little bit because I don't want to be disappointed. That's what we do. Oh, yeah, we limit God by saying, I should choose smaller. Have you forgotten God? You are the one who whispered in the ears of God to say what it was you wanted to experience. It sure wasn't me who whispered, it was you. We all whisper what we want. And God is gracious, so He hears. This is why your prayers are always answered, yes. They are. But it is only because we don't believe it. It's only because we don't believe it. And the only reason why we don't believe it is because we have forgotten God. That's why. When you begin to remember on a daily basis that all things are possible to him that believes, and that to God all things are possible, but greater still, that God is within. And remember, this is why nobody can be discarded, because God is inside everybody. Listen, when I like that, just to remember that God is within everybody, it's almost like a fail safe. Well, it is a fail safe, so he doesn't, quote unquote, forget himself. Not to the extent, you know how if you have amnesia, you've forgotten who you are, but you can't forget that you are. Remember that. Neville says it. You can't not know that you are. You always know that you are. What and where? Well, you could work with that. But you always know that you are. So then God put himself inside of everybody. He did not put a piece of himself into anybody. God put all of himself into everybody. And the only way that is possible without having to fracture the self, because there's only one God, right? So the only way I think to make that possible where you put yourself in everybody without having to fracture yourself to remain whole, that would mean everybody is you. Everybody is God. So that every time God gets up in the morning and looks in the mirror, oh, look, there I am. When I say, good morning, Susan, oh, look, there I am. God is continually only seeing itself. This is why God hears and why God does. Because he only sees himself day in and day out. Now, why he, though? Well, do we remember masculine and feminine from gender? The law of gender means to generate, to make something and then project it outward. That's the masculine. So God is God, but because it is projected into and it generates its own thinking and its own ideas, that's what makes it masculine, because things come from it. They're projected from. And whatever they're projected into, that mirrors it back, is the feminine. That's why God is he, not because he's got the bits. You understand? It's based upon the law of gender. to generate and project outward is a masculine thing, but to accept and bear witness is feminine. That's why we say, "Oh, Father, our Father, which art in heaven." That's why we say that. So today, do your best to remember. God hears, but He does. You hear and you do, but you do according to what you hear. That is the directive. It is law. So be diligent to observe yourself so you will know what state you are in, and that way you will predict what you will behave like. And I will say it to you again. That's what's happening in the world, round about us. Those that have assumed power, I don't know who and what they are. I've not been given that information. But what I do observe going on worldwide, they know the law very well. Well, how would they know? Because they have learned and observed the nature of man. But man, for some reason, is afraid of learning and observing his own nature. Do not be afraid of yourself. You're afraid of yourself, then you're afraid of God. Why do you think so much effort has gone into making you afraid? And making you think that God is somewhere else? Let us take a brief moment to welcome everyone into the space this morning. Hey, baby. I see you, Thick. I see you. Much love to you, honey. She's here on Twitter with us. Who's on YouTube and Fanbase today? I mean, YouTube and Facebook. Fanbase, you're in the other hand. I'm coming. Checkmate said he's got confirmation. The better man won. You're not, darling. Sugar Visions. Hello, Jeff. I see you all. The ones who have made yourselves known in the chat. That is, I see you. Fanbase, who's here? Princess. And I'm happy that done. That's you. KZ. Marquise, darling. Stephanie. Afternoon Delight. Coach. Hook a brother up. Z-Steve. Joaquin. Dua. Ali. Shea Butter. Oracle Treehouse. Relax. Relax. You're okay. You're okay. I said Oracle Treehouse, not Oracle Chicken. Relax, relax, relax. Flo Smiles. Mgenie. It is most beautiful to see all of you here today on Fanbase. Lady Silver. Is that Lady Silver? Yes. I see you, beautiful. Listen. Be hearers, but be doers. Because those two things go together. Cause and effect. They happen together. Yes? So remember who and what you are. Remember daily who and what you are. How do you remember who and what you are? You remember, what is it? What's that scripture? Romans 6:23. Is it God made him who had no sin to be sin for us? So that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Romans 6:23. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us. So that in him we might become the righteousness of God. What is righteousness again? Oh, right thinking. So that would tell us God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. So that's telling you the mind of something is within us so that we can think in a particular fashion. Right thinking. So in order to think in a right fashion, you have to have the mind of the thinker within you. The universe is a mental creation. Why is the universe a mental creation? Because the all is mind. And the mind does what? Thinks. It is aware of itself. Well then, I learned something new. So my beautiful friends, who do you say you are? Who do you say I am? Is? Well then, that is the prayer that you whisper. Whispers in the morning. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. That's what you whisper every moment of the day. Who I am is. And in order to know what you have whispered, you must see the evidence of it manifest itself in your world. So if your outer world remains the same, it is only bearing witness to who you say I am is. So how do you change who I am is? Oh, by the state that you put I am in. What mental state have you selected for yourself today? Like a new pair of shoes. Or in Marquise's case, Papa's got a brand new bag. What new bag did you choose? That's your state. Right? I know. What state have you chosen? Well, the state you have chosen is the thing that you have experienced in imagination. That's what you've chosen. You've chosen it by experiencing it in your imagination. So that inner conversation that we don't hear about, that happened where? In your imagination. That's how you selected your state. By way of the inner conversation you're having. So how do you change states? By changing what you experience within your imagination. That's how you do it. Why? Because you are the actor. You are playing all the parts. And Neville spoke about the spectacular actor last night in the lecture, didn't he? Think about, listen, and we think Hollywood is brand new. Come on, Hollywood follows law. How so? Okay, what doesn't follow law? And then you'll have the answer. Nothing. Everything follows law. So the actor gets up on stage and behaves in such a way. He is self-persuaded that he is this character he's playing. Because if he does not believe he's the character, you won't believe that he is the character. So to some extent, the actor must embody his role. The actor must become the part he says that he's playing. When the director says, action, the actor now has to behave in a fashion that will convince not only himself, but you. Look at how many movies we watch. Man, I just saw a clip with Zendaya and she did this. I don't even know what the show is that she plays in, but you probably will. And I think she's a drug addict in this scene. And she started to cry. She says, I don't know who I become. And she's just, listen, I have never seen tears like that before. Where does this woman have to reach into to drag those tears out? She has to believe that she is this thing she is playing. Because if she doesn't believe it, you will never watch that show again. That's why we watch the shows that we do, because the lead actor has done a phenomenal job of convincing us. This is why sometimes we can't separate actor from real life, because that is the nature of man. The nature of man is to act it out. And that's why we have a hard time. If you see the villain in real life walking down the street, the villain that was in your favorite show, you already have an opinion of them. You don't like them. But that only goes to show you how good of a job they did in making you believe the role that they played. So think about that for a moment. That is the nature of man, to assume a role and play it with such conviction. So that's why when we speak to ourselves, we're the director whispering, "Mm," and then we act according. Oh, Lord. So the state is the script that you are rehearsing. Until such time, you can't separate script from man, or man from script, because you wholly embody the role. So that's why when that person comes along and they offend you, when you take offense, you forgot who God was. The person who offended you is just in a state and they're acting according to the state. They're playing their role. And they did such a good job of convincing you of their role, you took offense. That's why, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So, what role are you playing this morning? My grandfather always used to say to me, sometimes you gotta play a fool's part. Sometimes you say, I have to play a fool's part. So if I'm playing a fool's part, well, then I must be in a play. I must be acting. So what role are you acting out today? Oh, the more you practice the role, the more convincing it becomes when you act it out. Do you see what you and I are doing day in and day out? We are acting. So the next time you look around at Hollywood, or should I say, not the establishment of Hollywood, but the work that they do, meaning action, and they get in front of that camera, recognize that it is following law. Nothing escapes law. So choose wisely the role you're going to play. Hmm? Choose the role you're going to play. The roles we play are influenced, by the experiences we've had. A real smooth talker, oh Lord, you know the ones I'm talking about. One of the funniest lines I've heard from a show that I like. He could sell cats to mice. That's how convincing he is in what he does as his role in that show. So when Neville tells you to assume and to persist in that assumption, And if you persist in the assumption, it will harden into fact. He is telling you the more that you practice the thing you say you are, you have to do it. It has to become a fact. You have to see the evidence. So remember, relax, relax. It's okay, baby. Yeah, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Oh. So remember who God is. And remember what God is capable of doing. So that is why when you start practicing what? Practicing experiencing in your imagination what you would experience in reality if you were the man or the woman you said you were. Practice that until it does what? Takes on the tones of reality, till you can't even separate role from actor. Relax. That's a good boy. Relax. Right? I know. I know. You're good. It's not singing time yet. Take your time. So, let us get the bowl. And as you hear the bowl, assume the role that you want to persist in. And when you assume the role that you want to persist in playing, fall in love with that role so that as you play it, it becomes more authentic to you. Well, if you don't fall in love with the role, why would you get up and play it every day? Huh? That's why you fall in love with the role. And when you fall in love with the role and you play it every single day, you don't even look at your clock or your calendar to say, are we done yet? Nah, because you've already embodied it. You've moved from wanting to having. Oh dear. And when you possess it, it has already possessed you. That's why you can't separate actor from script anymore. It has taken on the tones of reality. And then we stop saying things like, yeah, but the 3D is whooping my ass because it never changes. You'll know why it never changes. Because you have not embodied your role yet. So play your role. Persuade yourself that you are who you say you are as you play your role. So how does an actor play their role? By memorizing their lines and then conjuring up the emotion. And when they conjure up the emotion, their bodies register the emotion. And you get an entirely beautiful chemical cocktail that your body responds with. You know, adrenaline, norepinephrine, cortisol. That's a chemical cocktail, a hormonal cocktail. So if you hear that your hormones are out of balance, your mind is out of balance. But I digress. Let me get the bowl. Ah, hey, checkmate. He says the world is my stage and I play every role. Yes, double A. And as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. Facts. Why? Because an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Let's play it. Ah, check. Let's play that bowl. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2. Aw, Jackie and Texas. Thank you for being here. And remember, pre-order your oracle, your hermetic oracle cards. And today is the live stream for those who are interested or have already signed up for the Barbados September 2024 retreat. Slide into my DMs and I will get you the private live stream link so you can be part of that, where I'm trusting that she will meet us there, the facilitator of the location, so you can ask your questions, so on and so forth. So Twitter, that along with I'll see you tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard. Yes, talk to me, Oracle Treehouse.
Is that today or?
That's today, because normally for fan base, I do group coaching. So instead of group coaching, don't get me wrong, slide into my DMs with your question and I will respond with group coaching. Don't worry about that. We're not going to miss that. But instead of doing it live, I'll respond to your DMs so that at noon today, we go live. If you have the link already, you're great to go because I've sent it out already. But if you do not have that private live stream link and you would like to be part of the September 2024 retreat, slide into my DMs on whatever platform you are listening on, and I will send you the link so that we're there for noon Eastern Standard Time. Right?
Cool.
Yes. Let me see. We're coming down to the wire with our pre-orders for the Hermetic Oracle cards. Spread the word about that. Share that information with people so that they can participate in it. Because these cards are very helpful in the fact that when you pull one, you're not asking anybody. When you learn the principles teach you how to create, not to ask, what should I do? Nah, you get to know your own mind so that when you say, oh, what do I want? When you learn the principles and apply it, you know how to create what you want now instead of thinking, oh, how do I do this? No, you learn to create because that's your role in the world. We already create, yes, but we don't do so deliberately because we don't know that we are creating. And that's why these cards were created. I don't think there's anything else other than, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. I forget which lecture we're reading. I don't remember. I don't remember. I could flip over to find it, but I've got a chicken in one hand and the pillow in the other with all the devices on it. So if I don't keep my hand on him, he might start his song a little early. So I'm just reassuring him that I'm not ready for the song. Oh Lord. Relax. You're okay, big boy. All right, y'all. Let us close Twitter. I love you, Twitter. You guys are awesome, Jackie and Texas. It is so beautiful to see you. I love you all. Can I see what I'm doing? Yes. Twitter is closed. Now, YouTube and Facebook, you know I love you. Shame free. It's good to see you in the space. Yes, double A, without process, there is no pathway to progress. You're correct. And the process is the law. Listen, it shines a light on the way, huh? All right, YouTube and Facebook, I'll see you. So remember, shame free, I think you had expressed wanting to be part of the Barbados 2024 retreat. Slide into my DMs so I can send you the private link for that because we're having that meeting at noon today. Relax, big boy, relax. Yeah, I know. I'm here. Right? Relax. Good boy. All right, YouTube and Facebook, much love to you all.